Pashupati Advani as well joins in on the show right now. Pashupati, hi, afternoon. Considering you track the global market announcements and movements as well, all that closely, China actually is mulling allowing governments to sell 1.5 trillion yuan. That's about $220 billion of special bonds in the second half. And this is an unprecedented stimulus coming completely out of the blue. Just wanted to understand. Good news for metals, I'm guessing. Hindalco, Vedanta, etc. would be in focus.
Well, definitely China wants to kickstart its economy and needs to get money. Definitely it's going to put it into things like metals. And I also feel that they'll probably put money into things like electronics and chip manufacture as well. So, I mean, the fact is that they've been suppressed for the last 4 to 6 months. And as a result, we have gained as a result of it. The question is, which industries are they going to take this money and put into? And then we will react to it and then be able to be nimble. That's my humble opinion. Aisha?
So, Pashupati, should we be happy or sad? Because if China starts guzzling, that means metal prices will go higher. That means inflation will not go down. But if China starts consuming, it is good news for metals. It is good news for a lot of exporters. So, good news or bad news?
Well, I think for metals people, it's a little bit difficult because the government has also put a ban on some metal exports, which is not helping. And at the end of it all, we've got a budget trade deficit that's going up and up. So, you've cut exports and then China is going to come back and then we're not going to be able to fill those shoes. So the customers that our steel companies have had will go to China. So that's not good for them in the long run. But in the short run, I guess we need commodities in India and there's a domestic demand that's very strong. So it's kind of like the old import substitution Raj, that, since you have the commodity in India, use it judiciously. But prices worldwide being firm are definitely good for our metal companies. And I think there's an arbitrage there and it'll continue to be, go higher since China is also gearing up, as you said. Nikunj?
This metal rise is now becoming more like a rally. Kunal, are these fresh breakout points? Is this short squeeze? Is this one-day wonder or a trend which has started again?
So I think it's the second part which you said, it's a short squeeze because, we've seen metal stocks underperforming in last 1-2 weeks from 15,100 to 100. When the rally started off, we look at the price performance relatively, metals have underperformed. Now, after such a big news, the markets or traders would probably want to unwind their positions first. And then based on the data points which gets fructified, I believe that there should be more long bid up which could be happening. So this could be actually a start of a decent uptick for the metal stocks, and today's price appreciation which you're seeing is mostly on the back of short covering. Of course, the data would probably confirm that, but I believe looking at the ferocity of the price trends and the breakouts which you've seen for the stocks, the synchronized move across the metal names, I think that's a very strong signal that this is a strong short covering move. I would expect that these stocks should see more legs on the upside, maybe not immediate, but I think over the next 1 week, 2 weeks, you should see these stocks appreciating by another 5 to 6% at least.
Let's get some BTST ideas going. And Nuresh, what would be a BTST idea?
So that would be a buy on L&T first. The stock has finally given a breakout, whereas the rest of the markets have already broken out for some time. So out here, it would be a target price of 1700, 1750 and a stop loss to be kept at 1550, 1585. Second would be a buy on Bajaj Auto, which is trying to make a breakout move about that 3900 mark. Adjusted for dividends, that price comes to closer to 3800. We are just in the knocking distance of it. So a stop loss here at 3750, 3770 and a target price of 3900.
What's the idea?
Two stocks which I would want to suggest. First, the one Tata Motors looks very attractive. I think today the stock has given a breakout finally. So would suggest that as a buy. 444 as a target, stop loss at 424. And the second would be one IndusInd Bank. I think IndusInd Bank should also get in line with the other private sector names like ICICI and HDFC Bank. So would suggest that as a buy. Targets of 885, stop loss 837.
Okay, so that's the word coming in for the BTST. the ideas coming in from Naresh as well as Kunal. But let's take a look at what are the other stocks which are buzzing around, and what we can spot at this point of time is Star Health, which is up around 11%. ICICI Lombard is the other stock reacting positively. And in fact, we have got the monthly updates coming in from a whole host of these insurance companies, the likes of ICICI Pru, etc. as well. And the auxiliary and the financial space, the brokerage houses, the AMCs, the insurance space. Is there any stock that you would like to pick from this particular segment?
I've been hearing some of your guests in the last half an hour, 1 hour, who are very bullish on financials and private banks and things like that. I actually have a different point of view. I hope I'm not going to be proven right, but I actually feel that if there's any kind of a slowdown in the economy, there'll be a slowdown in credit, there'll be higher loan losses, particularly in the retail segment where these fintech companies have been very lavish in giving loans. Another issue that I see, which is slightly different and maybe slightly unconventional, when we put the two HDFC twins together, you'll have a huge market cap, and a lot of the smaller international funds will be tapped out as to the percentage of the company that they can own. So then you may see selling in either whichever the weaker ratio is, and see that paper coming in the market also. Because when you create, like Reliance has the same problem, that most funds, they have less than the market rate of Reliance, and they also can't buy more because they're constrained by having a percentage of their fund in a particular stock. So the HDFC twins are going to have that problem also. So let's see what happens. And as I said, I'm not as bullish in financials as the rest of the world, but I hope to be proven wrong.
An announcement actually coming in Tata Motors, and just picking up from Kunal, because he mentioned that Tata Motors is what's given a big breakout. There's news out of China, and China seems to be very active today. They're unveiling a plan to spur car demand, may extend the EV tax break as well. And given, of course, it does impact car manufacturers like Tesla mainly, but Tata Motors also considering a part of their sales for JLR, international sales, come in from the China region as well. Tata Motors now holding up a solid 3.5% as we speak. Pashupati, it's almost getting a problem of plenty within autos, isn't it? M&M, Tata Motors, even some of the two-wheeler majors. Yesterday we had a new addition from the TVS family, a competitor with RE. So just wanted to understand whether or not you're exposed to autos, and if so, which part?
Yeah, I'm exposed to autos in the sense that I have some of the, one of the two-wheelers and one of the four-wheelers. I think that Tata Motors, with China opening up, Tata Motors has a lot to gain. So I think you get to the old sort of areas where it used to be before it fell down, and because JLR is a significant amount and it went to zero with COVID. And so I'm very glad that it's happened. Likewise, M&M has been a winner. M&M is not moving because of autos alone. It's moving because of some of its other businesses, which are also going into drive. But it's at its pretty much a high after a long time. So this 1100 plus range that M&M has been. We haven't seen those numbers forever, according to me. But I think that it will run out because there is a chip shortage. It's not getting solved in a hurry. What I am seeing, which is a little bit disturbing, is like, for example, Toyota has decided not to be aggressive in India. I think they're scared of some, not being able to deliver small cars. And small cars, they don't make much profit. And India's not buying big cars. So that's a challenge, though it's been helpful for Kia and Hyundai as a result. But that's always been the cheaper relative of the Toyota and the Suzuki, if you want to call it. So let's see what happens. But it's a changing space. And one of the big challenges is that Indians, all the incentives are to small cars, and so they've not been able to bring big cars where they have big margin. So let's see how those things change.
Right. Okay. That's the call coming in on autos right now. Hindalco, look at the spurt on the stock, 6.25% higher now. Titan, of course, has been a strong one from the word go. But Kunal, Titan didn't quite manage to hold on to that gap up, right? It shot up 7%. It's still good, 5.5%, but it softened from there.
It's softened slightly, I would say, not much. And I think the position built up also on Titan, at least on the open interest front, is very encouraging. Now, this could be possibly a strong can. So what happens is today's gap, which has been built on Titan, a gap of almost 70, 80, 100 points from 2050 odd levels. That gap would now act as a major support. So the earlier support was 1900. Now the support shifts towards 2050. These are very strong signs. When a support gets raised by an 8%, 10% higher for a large cap stock, that means a new trend is starting to develop. Now, of course, after today's strong price gap up, you might see a couple of days of consolidation for Titan. That's but natural for a stock price to react in that kind of a fashion. But after the raising of the supports, I for one believe that this stock should now head significantly higher from current levels. Wouldn't be surprised that even if the stock touches those levels of 2,300 to 400 over the next 1 to 2 months. So bullish on Titan, and I would believe that any kind of a marginal dip, a 20 point, 30 point, 50 point dip on Titan should be taken as a good buying opportunity.
Okay, so that's the word coming in on Titan. Despite the up move that we have seen on the counter today, Kunal believes there's further upside possible on that counter, and that's actually the case coming for a whole host of other counters as well. What we're watching out for right now is delivery. Remember, we had a word with the management just last week where they reiterated their push towards profitability. They said that they're looking at growing fast, but not at the cost of profits, because that is something that they really clearly laid out, that they want to grow their volumes, but also take care that it's coming at a profitable level, and perhaps that is something which is also auguring well for the counter. Today sitting with a gain of 15% as we speak. The volumes are also quite strong at over 35 lakh. Let's see what comes out as far as that stock goes. I know there's limited history to it, Nuresh, but would you be able to spot any pattern for us? Nuresh, any pattern for us on delivery as well as some of these new age tech companies which are there, Paytms and the like?
So it would be tough to take a call on delivery because there is hardly any data. The only one I would look at is Paytm, which is where technically the stock is setting up for a reversal. The big gap down which happened back in March, that time the high was around 720. Just a week back, we made a top of around 720. Sustaining above 720 could take it all the way to 850 also out here. So the only one I would go with is Paytm.
So that's the word coming around some of the new age tech companies as well. But Pashupati, what's your take regarding the likes of delivery, etc.? Do you think that the moat is strong? At least some of the brokerages believe that, because recently we had seen 3-4 initiations coming in on the counter, and they said that there is a very large moat that the company has, and also a lot of scalability which is there. Would you concur with their view?
Yeah, I guess, the last time I think I was on your show, I said that, there are 4 sort of new age companies that had come to market. One was Paytm, one was Policy Bazaar, one was Nykaa, and one was Zomato. And at that time, my choice of buying it was saying Paytm first. At that time, if I recollect, it was around these kind of levels, around $700. It's gone down and then now come back up. And I think the coming back up is showing strength. So obviously, some people know something that we don't, because markets always, begin to show resilience. And as one of the technical analysts just said, it looks like it may go through 720 and then bounce up. The other 3 I'm less excited about. Zomato, there's an issue of having swallowed a company that, given where the market has gone down, whether they should have paid that much is questionable. There's also some relatives who have worked in both the sides, and that's not very good for governance. Nykaa seems to chug along and is actually making money, which is good. So it stands to survive, but the moat is not as great. And but I think the question in Paytm is that whether there will be some kind of softening on Chinese business, if you want to call it. And I don't see that happening in a while. So that's the cap on business with Paytm, because they have the software, they have the delivery, they have everything ready. They just precluded from bringing it to India because of their ownership. And so that's the moat that's a tough moat to cross, our government.
Okay, so that's the word coming in on some of the new age tech companies, and we've discussed financials also at length and metals as well, but both of these counters and sectors deserve mention.
Why are we not talking about TCS? Because tomorrow,
yes.
same time, you would be just looking at your watch and staring down, okay, when is TCS coming? So tell us,
Maybe
what do we
that's
expect?
the reason I don't want to talk about it today, because tomorrow is going to be a busy day and it's going to be a long one at that. And at the cusp of earnings season, and this is likely to continue now for a month or so. So yes, I'm taking one day at least easily. But yes, talking about TCS because it is an important
Can't
number
get away from it.
and can't get away from it however much I try. It is going to be a strong number, at least that is something to take heart from. The top line growth is expected to be rather strong. In fact, in rupee terms, we're expecting it to grow by over 4% on a sequential basis. The dollar growth might be a slightly bit more tepid, but given the run rate, 1.5% growth on TCS sequentially in dollar terms will be something which will be taken well by the street. Constant currency growth is expected at 3.7%, and this is better than what they did in the last quarter because at that time they grew by around 3.2%. Separately, the biggest talking point this time around would of course be commentary as well as the margin performance. Now, what the street is already factoring in is that there is going to be a contraction for sure. How much will the margin contract will be the big question. The street is prepared that it is going to be a 150 basis point contraction coming in for TCS this time around. But as I said, the proof of the pudding would really be in the management commentary because this time what people really want to understand is how is the demand momentum likely to continue. The street is worried that there is perhaps going to be a recession in US. How would it impact client budgets? Will it derail the momentum that we have seen in the deal pipeline of late? Will be important to track. So in fact, let's take that question across to Pashupati as well. Pashupati, what's your own expectation as far as TCS and the entire IT pack is concerned?
No, I'm actually not as bearish on the IT pack as most other people. I feel that they're there to stay. We have done a lot of good contract work, and particularly the big ones like TCS and Infosys have made inroads back into the traditional European and American markets like they have had for a long time. So I think they're just going to chug along. There will be pressures on margin because everyone is trying to cut costs, but I think they're making up for it in volume. So I think overall they're going to continue to do well, and I kind of agree with you that the margins will be better. The overall earnings will be better.
Okay. Naresh, I think we were chatting about this yesterday, right? That even though you've got the rupee at an all-time low vis-a-vis the dollar, that enthusiasm hasn't quite played out on the IT sector, unlike today where you are seeing a move on IT. But again, not such a strong one as one would have thought given the correlation to, the dollar-rupee parity. Just wanted to understand which of the IT names is looking weakest or strongest, or even if there is a trade here in IT.
So the trade here is to look out for the ones which have lower expectations, which is where Wipro comes into play. The stock still continues to be at 420 odd levels, down from 730. So Wipro could be a surprise, but apart from that, would be a little cautious in the whole thing because the results would lead to a big gap up or a gap down. So post result is where I would like to start betting on them. So once the results are out, that's the better time to trade the IT names.
Okay, so that's the word coming in on some of the IT counters, and Wipro is something that has definitely been on Naresh's radar for a week or so. Let's see how that one continues to move. But for the markets today, I have to say that it was a good day of trading session. Yes, we did see that a huge dip come into the markets, but that got quickly recovered. There was this V-shaped recovery, and as we speak, we are very close to the highest point of the trading session. 16,132 is where we are at. The Sensex is sitting with a gain of around 400 points. The broader markets are also participating, a gain of around 1.5% coming in for the broader markets. Both the mid-cap and the small-cap index sitting pretty in the green. It's Bank Nifty, which is also surging as we speak, very close to that 35,000 mark now. 34,940 is where we are at for the Bank Nifty as well. In terms of stock-specific and sector-specific action, well, it was metal space that really took the breath away in the last half an hour or so. Big surge coming across all metal counters. Hindalco, Vedanta, Jindal Steel, National Aluminium, Tata Steel, SAIL. Pick up any of these counters, they were up anywhere between 5 to 10%. And in fact, for the Nifty metal itself, we have seen a move of almost 3.5–4% coming in. Not just metals pack, PSU banking space was also quite active. Canara Bank was up 8%. Bank of Baroda went home with a gain of around 6–7%. And PNB, Central Bank, were of some of the other names which were definitely quite active. Though SBI held up in the green, but not by a large margin. In terms of the other stocks and sector-specific action, we have Sobha, which was up around 10–11%, as well as Phoenix Limited, which came out with its update, ended the day 4% higher.
Yeah, absolutely. NBCC has got to be the star today. Canara Bank, BOB, the entire PSB pack, and even metals, while of course the large cap ones held out, even the smaller ones like a SAIL, for instance, aside of that, Hindustan Copper as well, even names like an India Mart, Loris Labs, NMDC, Syngene, which managed to close in at the session highs. Dalmia Bharat has had a very good session today. There's also been Chambal Fertilizers, MFSL, L&T Finance, PNB, Indiabulls Housing, CUB, that's City Union Bank, Canfin Homes, UPL. There have been many, many winners today. But on that note, we're going to wind it up on this edition of Closing Trades. Thank you so much for watching.